here we have the overview of the month and the important events that are going to be happening. And I've correlated it to the Maslow pyramid so that we can see what parts of our being are going to be worked on. As you see, in the beginning of the month, we still have Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn. So it's all going to be about certainty and survival and, you know, dignity and wealth. So some worries about money. But then again, Jupiter towards the 20th is going to move into the domain of air. Now, in the domain of air, we have the self-fulfillment needs or the self-actualization needs, which is mostly people are going to want clarity and vision throughout the month. And I think we're going to be going a lot back and forth in political discussion when it comes to what choices to take for the planet, the way that our social media is regulated and conducted, the way that vaccination should be regulated and conducted, and most importantly, if there should be mandatory vaccines or not, especially in the case of children. So let's have a look at the month and what it's going to bring over. So we have in the second, Mercury enters Libra. So Mercury is going to be in a tight spot here, because it's going to be conjunct two malefics, the Sun and Mars. Now, Mercury is usually together with the Sun, but you know, having the aspect of Mars there is going to make Mercury very stressed. So there's an overload of information and ideas proposed by people. And then we also have the direct aspect by Saturn itself coming in from Capricorn. So I think we're going to have a lot of activism towards democracy and perhaps free speech and free choice versus regulatory mandates from the government. And the area of commerce is also going to suffer a lot. Then on the 4th, we have the new moon in the Swati Nakshatra, and this is happening during the Diwali festival. So Swati means individuality, and being in Libra, most of the events happen during Swati. So the main issue in the month is going to be the individuality and raising one's own voice, really. So many platforms, many issues to help us understand, you know, the principle of individuality in Swati. Then on the 5th, we're having the Anakkut Festival, which is a festival of abundance and well-being in India. And it was practiced, and it was actually the festival instated by Lord Krishna himself. So it's a very important festival of rejoicing, of celebration, of giving back for all that we have received. Very auspicious to celebrate. It's usually a very auspicious day. It is said that on that day, whoever's offers some food to God, then they will never lack in their further life. So you can follow at home. So then on the 10th, I've marked the 10th as a red day because the 10th is going to be a difficult day. This is the Mars-Mercury conjunction at 1320 degrees in Swati. So mostly here, what people are going to want is that their voice will be heard. I think mostly the opinion of people is going to be important regarding the main issues that are going on. And also, I think that countries are going to start protesting about climate change. We'll have some kind of resolution over climate change and what is to be done. And then also the commerce, I think trade wars and stuff, and also social media and the power it has over us. So I think, you know, Facebook will continue having problems during this month. Like serious one. On a personal level, I think that it's about understanding where my freedom can take me, so to be self-accountable, but also to have clarity in what I'm going to do with my freedom. So a measure of clarity and strategy is there present throughout the month. On the 10th, also Saturn makes an exact aspect to Mercury. So you see, it happens on the same day. So I would say that the reddest day of the month, the day where you have to be very careful with publications and ideas and such, is going to have to be precisely the 10th. And on the 10th also, Saturn and Mars aspect each other precisely. So there's a lot going on the 10th. Be careful of a couple of days before and a couple of days after. So I think, you know, the way that it could be processed is if anybody needs to say something, just kindly listen to them. You will soon realize that everybody is a different personality. So we all have different points of view, and that is okay. You don't need to agree, but it's good to sit down and dialogue. And of course, when we're trying to make an agreement, it's always necessary when there's two points of view to compromise in a certain way so that there can be peace and outcome. Remember, the more that you try to communicate non-violently and not to win an argument, but rather to be able to express yourself, to learn, to be able to see the other person's point of view, and then the goal should always be to use the intellect to reach a consensus, you know, to reach an agreement on what is best for everybody. So try to remember that during this month. Then on the 16th, the sun is going to enter Scorpio. This is called the Sankranti. So the sun is going to be debilitated until then. When the sun is debilitated in Libra, it is not indicated that we should do any type of material activity because the energy will be lacking. So the sun is at its lowest. So if you see, usually when the sun debilitates in the Western Hemisphere, that's when the dark festivals are there. So it's the festival of death, and it's also the Dia de los Muertos, and then there is the festival of Halloween. So the dark prevails over the light. So it is during that time that we have those festivals. In India, we tend to be, you know, more positive about it. So it is actually the Kartik month. So half of it will go while Jupiter's sun is in Libra. And, you know, people understand that just naturally we dedicate ourselves to spiritual pursuits instead of material ones, because the energies are just not there for material pursuits. So that's the way to go about it. Also, you know, the Diwali happens on that day, so it's the triumph of light over dark. So very powerful festival. We could say it's almost like an equivalent to what, you know, in magnitude, not in significance or in meaning, but in magnitude is the equivalent of what you would know as the Christmas Day in the Western Hemisphere. So Diwali is very, very important. So it's also celebrated during this month. Then the sun enters Scorpio on the 16th. So that's the Sankranti. Sankranti is considered to be inauspicious to start any activity. So even though the sun has shifted, it is not recommended that you start any activity. As the month goes by, the month will tend to be better, especially towards the 20th and after the 20th, when it's, we'll see this point next. Then on the 20th, Jupiter re-enters Aquarius. So by the time Jupiter re-enters Aquarius, the goodness, it's almost like they're going to plug the goodness back in. This goes on until April. And while Jupiter is in Aquarius, we're going to hear a lot of talk about regulation in social media. We'll touch upon it later on in the video. Because Jupiter will be still be lorded by Saturn in Capricorn, so you can expect more regulation in when it comes to social media, when it comes to commerce and trade, when it comes to the important issues right now, which I think is the most important one, is climate change. So by then we'll know the publication of the universal regulation for that, and over the months to come we will see how the important players play their role in this aspect. So on the 20th, on the 19th, Kartik, Purnima, full moon and partial lunar eclipse. So it is a full moon in Kartik. So the full moon is very intense on the 19th, but we have a partial lunar eclipse, which by its nature, what is going to happen there is that we're going to have a lot of emotions coming in. So that's going to be an emotional day, coupled with the fact that the sun is still a little weak in Scorpio. Then on the 20th, we've touched upon this. Then on the 23rd, the sun and Ketu conjunct. So that is quite a deeply karmic day. So probably ancestors or relationships from the past related to our father come in during that day. Remember, Ketu, representing the planet of moksha, being in Scorpio, energized by the sun, will definitely bring out to light some aspects that have remained hidden during most of the year, so you can expect something to come up, some issue that you're going to have to deal with during that day. Then on the 25th, Mercury also conjuncts Ketu, so that's just a few days after, so I think the voicing of the issue. And then finally, Sun and Mercury conjunct on the 29th. So overall, if you want my opinion for the month of November, is that it's actually going to be a pretty, I wouldn't say intense month, but it's going to be a month of a lot of reflection where we are asked to hold back on communicating too swiftly and, you know, trying not to make so much use of our own voice. But if we really want to impact the future, it should not be about winning an argument, but rather it should be about reaching a consensus of what the best choice is for everybody, or what best road to take. That requires information, investigation, study, trust in experts and representatives. So, you know, what you're going to be hearing during this month is that there's a lot going on within two very opposing points of view. Now, why is this happening? Because all of these planets in Libra are being lorded by Venus. Venus is the Lord of Libra, and so all of these planets that are combust and conjunct in Libra, being lorded by Venus in Sagittarius, are prompting us to move forward from a dire situation, or a situation where we need to make a change. So it's almost like humanity is going to understand that one chapter of the tale needs to be over so that the new chapter can open up and go forward. But before we do that, we need to sit down and analyze you know, what the last chapter has been about, and, you know, in what way we have learned from that last chapter, last life, or past life events, lifestyle, whatever it is that we've been doing, and how we're going to be moving more forward to the future in a way that makes sense, and also that we can leave a positive legacy for the generations to come. So Venus in Sagittarius moves the energies forward in that way. So I think we're going to be quite prompted but by what we see in the social media, you know, where we have where we have slipped in our attention, in our dogmatic behavior, and where we could improve. So the stage is being set up for the entrance of Jupiter out of debilitation, and then its swift movement towards the month of April into Pisces, which is going to be an extreme spiritual time for the world. And I think by then, all of this thing with the pandemic and the vaccinations, etc., will probably be solved. By after April, what we're going to be seeing is, I think, stronger economies are going to be coming up with plans to support economies that, you know, can't handle climate change so well, and also support them in the area of vaccination. Also, government policy. I think it'll lighten up, and interestingly, it will not coming in as an enforcement, right? The policy right now regarding vaccines and all of that has come as a measure of reaction and of keeping the boat afloat. But when Saturn finally moves into Aquarius towards mid-year of 2022, then what we're going to see happening is more experts are going to be called, will have more experience. And so the voices of those who know, right, statistics and all of that moving forward into the future, the policies are going to be not about keeping the boat afloat, but actually, where to point the sails and how to use the technology properly so that the boat can go faster. So it seems like, in my eyes, it seems like the worst has gone. Of course, the world is changing, and there's a huge leap in technology and I would say social awareness, interconnectedness, that it's going to be called into the arena now, especially with the issues of climate change. But I'm very hopeful and very positive. Seeing the patterns of the cosmos, I think that the hardest test has passed, certainly, and now what remains is to see what people are going to do with their individuality. So mostly what I see is the world is entering a stage in life where the socialized mind, which is I am in the function of what society thinks of me, has given way to the next stage of evolution, which is I'm asking myself, like, really, what is it that I really want to say as an individual, and what ideas, what values, more than ideas and beliefs, what values have I realized I can stand by? And then by having the courage to live authentically and honestly, in what way can I impact the world in a positive way? By uniting my consciousness with people that are actually looking not so much at the problems, but objectively trying to find solutions. So in the way that is the function of the intellect. So there's many problems to be solved, economically, socially, the environment, very important, and also trade, and also the children going back to school. So those are going to be the main themes of the month. Expect for a lot of voicing, a lot of individuality, but again, there's a lot to say, there's a lot to inform, but we need to take the time to digest the information and consider what is the way forward. So therefore there's a sense of urgency, but also there's a call for sitting at the round table and discussing and actually listening to each other's point of view. And then of course, as I said in the beginning, trying to see in what way we can compromise and we can make a good deal so that it can be good for everybody. So it's a bit of a push and pull month, not the easiest month in the year. It comes with a complicated energy. So I think the key word for this month is patience. From my side, this is all. I hope it helps you. Keep your hope up. Recently, Sir David Attenborough spoke at the United Nations. I found his speech very inspiring. I think if you can go and listen to that recent speech by Sir David Attenborough, I think it actually sets the stage perfectly well for what we're going to be living during this month, which basically he spoke about hope for the future in the sense that we are powerful, intelligent, and if we are not just driven by our base emotions and actually use our collaboration and intelligence, it is very possible that as a humanity we may solve our problems in a micro scale, family, community, society, and then world at large. But you start with your personal relationships and your family. So if we have the willingness and the intelligence, we'll understand that peace is better than war, that reaching an agreement is better than a cold war or a discomfort that just creates fear and instability, that sane trade agreements are good for everybody. Everybody wins. So it's about looking for that win-win situation when it comes to climate change, and the stronger economies helping the economies that cannot afford to change the industry right now. What we have to see is that once again the countries with the most universities and developed intellect in their citizenship and their society should take the leadership, not only for their country but for the world at large. So I think there's more than enough resources. It's just we need to figure out how to take responsibility in a way that we can be accountable for the future of the next generations. So all in all, that's the teaching of the month, and I hope this helps you. Remember, it starts with you, it starts with your family, it starts with dialogue, nonviolent communication, and the willingness to reach agreements. So I hope you have a beautiful month, and that whatever it is that you find that your voice wants to say, may that voice speak with respect and authenticity.